See if the Mustang could do a no brake burnout. You're watching Will Motivation, the channel on YouTube where you not only get to check out some sweet supercars, nice cribs, and exotic destinations, but also get educated on different avenues that lead to success, no matter where you come from. Here is where we create, educate, and motivate. Welcome to Will Motivation. Holla! What's up, YouTube? This is your boy Will Motivation. We're going to have three parts to today's video. In response to the video that I did called Lamborghini Broke, $500,000 in debt. Why am I happy? Am I crazy? So, first part of the video, I'm going to give you my perspective, why I did the video, and why I'm actually happy. It's pretty simple. That concept. I talk a little bit about, my perspective. But man, there were so many good responses to that video on why I potentially should be happy with that much debt, with the little bit that you guys know about me. Man, there were some great responses. So the second part of this video is going to be me going over those responses and those comments and shouting out, some of my subscribers that actually took the time to comment on why they thought I was happy with that much debt. And then the third part of this video, because I'm actually going to talk about my personal scenario, my personal financial scenario, to help those of you that are really interested, to help you guys see how I'm leveraging my money and my finances to be able to do what I do. So check it out. Let's go. Let's just keep this rolling. How's that? That's good? We good? I can talk right here? Okay, perfect. Okay, so part one to this video, response to 500,000 in debt or more actually, and how can I be happy with that much debt? Because the reason why I did the video, to be honest, that day when I did the video, I wasn't thinking about how happy I was actually thinking about how much debt I had. And I was like, you know what, why do I, sometimes you kind of wonder and just check yourself, right, on the things that you're doing and if those things that you're doing make sense. So I was really having a day of checking myself, and I wanted to kind of throw my thought process out there and share it with you guys, get your input, and then share with you my input and why I'm okay with being that much in debt, and to kind of give you a perspective on your own situation, because a lot of times we get stressed out because we owe money on credit cards, on our houses or mortgages, car payments, and things like that. But I kind of wanted to give you guys some perspective because when you are leveraging debt, sometimes it's okay. Sometimes you have to leverage debt in order to maneuver and get to where you want to be. So that leads us to the answer and my personal perspective on why I'm okay with having that much debt. So my actual debt is over 500,000. It's actually, we're going to get into that in part 3 of this video, where I break down my debt, but I'm also going to break down what type of debt that is and why it's okay. So why am I happy with over $500,000 worth of debt? The simple answer to that question is real simple. Like I said in that prior video, most of that debt, I'm going to say 95% of that debt or more, is secured debt. When I say secured debt, that means there's something securing that debt, like property or an asset. And in my case, The asset would be real estate, and then I have a small balance of a loan on this vehicle. The remainder of my debt is minimal. Like I have credit card debt, personal credit card debt is less than $5,000 I have in credit card debt out of that $500,000 plus, right? 60,000 of that debt is secured by the Lambo. The Lambo is worth much more than $60,000, obviously, but I do have that car loan. But all of the remaining debt that I have is secured by real estate. So why am I happy? The reason why I'm happy is because the equity that I have in my real estate portfolio is much higher than what my total consumer and business debt. So let me repeat. My equity in my real estate is much higher than what I actually owe in debt on my mortgages and my real estate debt. So I have a very good equity position with my real estate compared to my debt. So why do I even have the debt, and why am I okay with getting that debt? The reason is I'm able to control real estate that I might not normally be able to control if I was only using the cash that I had available to buy that real estate. So what do I mean by that? Actually the best answer that I saw in the comments, I'm gonna go into that in part 2 of this video, but the best answer, someone gave an example of, let's say you had $100,000 cash, and this actually applied to me when I first got started investing in real estate. And I've done both things. I've bought real estate with cash, and I've also bought real estate through leveraging the bank's money as well. So let's say you have $100,000 cash, and with that $100,000, you want to buy some real estate. So in one scenario, let's say you took that $100,000 and you were able to buy one nice house for $100,000. So you took your cash, you bought the house, and then you put it up for rent so that you can get a return on that $100,000 investment. So your return might be, let's say you net, after you pay your expenses, $1,000 a month in rental income after your expenses. So your return on investment of that $100,000 in a year would be $12,000 a year, which is 12%. So that's your return on investment. Now, the other scenario that I learned after networking a little bit, talking to some other people, and studying up on real estate was leveraging your credit to buy more real estate. So instead of buying one house, you take that $100,000 and you build some banking relationships, and usually the banks want 20%. So if you have $100,000, $100,000 is 20% of 500,000. Okay. So instead of buying one house for 100,000, now you can use your credit and your cash to buy 5 $100,000 houses. Okay. So each of those houses costs $100,000, and instead of paying, $100,000 cash, you pay $20,000 in cash from your, $100,000 that you got saved. You pay $20,000. The bank gives you $80,000, 80%, and you pay 20%, and then you're able to get 5 homes, right? Instead of 1 home. So you control more real estate. And so if you buy that real estate at the right time, you have to pay the mortgage every month, so it increases your expense and lowers your net profit every month. But I'll show you in part 3, I'll show you what the annual return on investment can look like. And it can be much more than if you bought one house with $100,000 in cash. Your net return on that $100,000 investment could be a multiple of what you would get if you bought one house. So in my case, I bought 20 houses, and I have mortgages on about 6 of those houses right now. And so my strategy, the other thing I want to make clear is that I'm not saying run out and get yourself in debt, because actually I don't like debt. Like, I don't want to carry debt, and I don't like debt. Okay, so let's make that clear. I don't like debt. I don't encourage you getting in debt unless it makes sense. But then once you get in debt, make sure you get a good loan. Make sure you're careful as far as getting a fixed interest rate versus a variable interest rate. I'll talk about that more in other videos, but essentially, if you get a variable rate, you got to be careful because the interest rates are going up. So if you plan on having a house for a long time and having a mortgage for a long time, you might not want to get a variable rate. But if you might have the house only for a few years before you pay it off or sell it, then a variable rate might make sense, okay? So, but I'm not supporting going out and getting in debt. I'm just saying I do support being smart and leveraging your credit in order to get control of real estate in this scenario, and then leverage that real estate to maximize how much money you can make off of it, either by doing a flip or by buying it and holding it and renting it for a profit every month, and then getting the house at the right price so that you can enjoy the growth in equity of that home once you've rehabbed it. So, that's sort of, my spill on that. I don't like having debt. So my strategy personally was I used the bank's money to get control of real estate when the market was low. I bought as much real estate as I could. And then, because I don't like having debt and I don't like paying interest when I don't have to, I started paying off the houses over the last 5 or 6 years. So as soon as I got a lot of money from some of my other business ventures, I would pay my expenses with my businesses, and then whatever I had left over, I was paying off my debt and my mortgages to minimize that, but at the same time, have some cash on hand to take advantage of being able to buy a new flip or to handle an emergency or things of that nature. So right now, I'm in a state of hoarding. So I'm instead of paying off those remaining mortgages I have immediately, I'm actually stockpiling as much cash as possible before I make a decision on what I want to do next. Do I want to pay off the rest of my mortgages, or do I want to keep those mortgages and keep some cash on hand? So I'm doing a balancing act right now, but I'm in a very good position with my real estate, with those loans, what I owe. Like I said, I have mortgages on about 6 or 7 properties. That's why I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with having that debt. The other reason why I'm happy is because for those homes where I have loans on those properties, I can actually, if I sold those properties, I'm not underwater with any of those properties. So if I sold any of those properties, I would get a check back. After I paid off that mortgage and that debt, I would get a check back, and I would be in really good shape. So that's why I'm happy. Essentially, it's about leverage. I'm not over leveraged. I have a lot of equity in real estate that I own that far outweighs what I owe the banks, and I also have a plan for paying down those mortgages, and then not paying that interest unnecessarily. So that's the answer in part 1. Now, part 2, we're going to go into some of the details and comments. We had some really good comments and a lot of people basically giving the right answer, and even educating the rest of us. So let's go talk about some of those comments. All right, so here we go. We're going to check out the comments. So these are the comments that people posted in response to that video, which was entitled over 500,000 in debt with a Lamborghini. Is he crazy? So, just a thought-provoking video, man. I was just trying to get people to think, and then explain why I'm not crazy. Basically, you could say I'm crazy, but crazy like a fox. So anyway, I want to shout out some of the people that commented on that video with some really good thoughts and answers. Man, that video got over 290 comments, so let's see how fast we can get through this. But first one goes to JT. JT said, real estate debt is good debt because your tenants are paying for your debt. So in general, I agree with that. And yes, that's a reason why I am happy, because the debt that I do have remaining on that real estate is being paid down by my tenants. So, but that's not always guaranteed. But in my case, yes, you're right. Logo Secret VBS said, equity, simple as that. Buy a house at 100,000, invest 20,000 into it. House is worth 200,000, 80K in equity. Let's say you have at least 40,000 in equity on average from 20 units. That's 800,000, for example. Yes, you hit the nail on the head, bro. Long time subscriber, I appreciate you. And yes, bingo, you got it. Logo Secret VBS, you hit the nail on the head. Now I had a hater, guy with Ford 500. Once he said, once another 2008 comes in, that cheesy smile will disappear and bankruptcy papers will appear. Yo, you're hater of the week. Actually, dude, if another 2008 and 8 comes in and the market drops, I'm gonna be smiling even bigger. Why? Dude, research my story. I got in the real estate market when the market was low. I got in at 2008, bro. I got in. Well, okay, I didn't even get in that early. I got in 2008, the real estate market wasn't even low. Like, do your research for real. The real estate market bottomed out from 2010 to 2012, maybe 2013. 2010 to 2013. That's when I got in, and I was smiling like a cheesy rat. You see what I'm saying? The early bird gets the worm, but the rat that don't sleep gets the cheese. That's me. So, if another 2008 comes in, I'll be waiting until 2010. And when that 2010 hits and the market bottoms out, guess what? I'm going to be smiling even bigger, because I'm going to get as much real estate as I possibly can get. And actually right now I am preparing just in case that happens, and I'm saving cash. Like, I still have a few mortgages left, but before I pay off those mortgages, I'm saving cash just in case anything happens. I want to be ready to take advantage of those opportunities. The market is high. I could sell some real estate right now if I wanted to, but I'm watching the market right now. So, no, the smile will not disappear, bro. Let's see. So, V triple I Glass Eye said, I'm gonna give it a try. Correct me if I'm wrong. For the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to include flipping ARVs, equity, taxes, and variables of change, so as not to confuse others and myself. Just a fixed interest 30-year mortgage. Numbers are rounded for simplicity. So, for example, let's say he has 5 rental properties at 100,000 each. He purchased for 50,000 and put 50,000 in repairs in each, for a total of 100,000 per property, and that's 500,000 in debt. 100,000 loan over 30 years at 3.75% interest is going to be around 460 a month. Let's say he is able to rent out the properties at 1,200 a month. At the end of the month, he's still net positive. This is just for one property, but it applies to all of them. So, you know, on average, making 740 a month positive, whereas what I'm paying over that mortgage term will be 165,000, but what the income would be 432,000, and net positive after 32 years is $250,000. So, very good breakdown. I wasn't thinking as elaborate as that when I made the video, because I was really focusing on the equity in the properties. But there's so many advantages of investing in real estate. You just hit the nail on the head for another advantage, and that is cash flow. Cash flow. So how much positive cash flow are you getting every month after you pay your expenses for each property? That's another reason to be happy, and essentially that's what he's saying, and he is correct on that as well. From Brian Lloyd, he says, most successful businesses carry debt. True. As long as your return on investment is higher than your cost of capital or your interest rate, you have a good investment. Interest rates have been historically low for a while now, so real estate, I'm sure you're doing great. Keep it up, bro. I'm a fan. So shout out to Brian Lloyd. Yes, sir, you are correct. My real estate endeavors are a business. You know what I'm saying? So, like he said, most businesses carry some level of debt, but as long as you're making more than you're paying out in interest and business expenses, then you got a good business. So, Brian Lloyd, yes, you are correct as well. Let me see what other comments we have. Okay. ZR1, Chris1, shout out to you. Said it's really pretty simple. With it being real estate debt, the property is most likely worth more than the debt. On top of that, the tenants are paying the debt. Also, the value is typically going to just go up on those properties. There it is. The three most important points summed up at once. ZR1, Chris1, you are correct. There's three things that you got working for you when you invest in real estate, and sometimes you have to assume debt when you get real estate, and that is the properties are worth more than the debt, so that means I have some equity to tap into if necessary, and if I sell, I can get money back. Number two, if the properties are rented out, the tenants are paying down the debt, and then number three, you have the increase in property value working to your advantage. So you get to take advantage of all that growth. All right, so let's see what else. Ebor Biggin, LOL. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but shout out to you. His answer was, you're happy because you have your own house and family. At the end of the day, yes. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff that I'm talking about, leveraging your credit and buying real estate and getting ahead and stuff like that. At the end of the day, what you got to know what things really make you happy. And at the end of the day, having a house over my head and having my family with me and happy and they're good as well, yeah, that makes me happy at the end of the day. So everybody's got to know what those things are for them. So essentially, you are right. I found the comment that I was looking for. Was one of the best comments, and I guess you could say I'm saving the best for last. So first of all, thanks for all of the comments, because the comments were pretty good and they were actually pretty motivating. So thanks to everybody that did comment on the video. Like I said, it was like almost 300 comments on that video. But this comment right here was super on point. The comment was from Mike the Auto Spa. And he said, financial leverage refers to the use of debt to acquire additional assets. Financial leverage is also known as trading on equity. So he gave two examples to illustrate what he was talking about. So he said, Mary uses $400,000 of her cash to purchase 40 acres of land with a total cost of $400,000. Mary is not using financial leverage, right? So it's like what I talked about in part one of this video. Sue uses $400,000 of her cash and borrows $800,000 to purchase 120 acres. So Mary got 40 acres with cash, and Sue got 120 acres with cash and some debt and some leverage in her credit, right? So the total cost of that 120 acres was $1.2 million, but Sue used financial leverage. And Sue is controlling $1.2 million worth of land with only $400,000 of her own money. And Mary is controlling $400,000 worth of land with all her money, right? So Sue is controlling much more property, right? So if the property owned by Mary and Sue increase in value, let's say by 25% by the time they're sold, Mary would have made $100,000 gain on her $400,000 investment, right? At a 25% return. Sue's land will sell for $1.5 million, and the resulting in a gain of $300,000. Sue's $300,000 gain on her $400,000 investment results in Sue getting a 75% return on her investment. So when assets increase in value, leverage works well. So, but conversely, he's saying when assets decline in value, the use of leverage works against you. So in this example that he gave, he used dry property, right? So without any houses on it, like land. So in the example in my case, I had one piece of land and everything else was actual developed real estate with houses on it. So my scenario is a little bit different. So if my houses were to decline in value, what I could potentially make on my initial investment would be less. And let's even say I went negative on paper. If the value of my properties went less than what I bought them for, if they on paper were worth less than what I bought them for, the fact that I have those properties rented out and making income gives me staying power to ride out the storm. So like when I first got in real estate, I was in that scenario. I had 2 houses that I owned, 3 properties that I owned. I had an office and 2 houses. They all were underwater. They all were worth less on paper than what I bought them for. But I actually rented out one of them for a profit, so I started making a return on that investment, and I didn't realize any loss. And then in my office, in my other house, I was actually using those properties, right? But while that market was down, that's when I just started buying real estate to actually balance out that loss that I would have had on paper with a gain at that point. So I knew when the market would come back, I'd be in a really good position, and that's exactly what I did. So lesson of the day right there. So shout out to Mike, the Auto Spa. Let me read the last part of his comment because there's some good knowledge in it. It says, when assets decline in value, the use of leverage works against you. Let's assume that the properties owned by Mary and Sue decrease in value by 10% from their cost, and then they're sold. So they realize that loss. Mary would have lost $40,000 on her investment, and then Sue would have lost $120,000 on her investment, which would have been a greater loss. So this example comes from an accounting coach, LLC, but he said it really boils down to evaluating a risk assessment and understanding your financial exposure. After that, it boils down to what level of risk the individual is comfortable with and willing to assume. The stakes can be high, and hopefully the individual has done their homework. If not, it can have a devastating outcome. Now, in that example that he used, he's talking about a piece of land. In the example that I'm using, and in my scenario, I'm talking about a house. You can do much more with a house than you can do with a piece of land. You can't, maybe you could rent a piece of land, but I don't know how that would work. But if you have a house, you can rent the house out and make a profit, or you can live in the house. You know what I'm saying? You can live in that house if you have to, and just pay that mortgage yourself and hold it down. But what my advice is that you always buy smart. Buy a house below the market average. Don't buy a house at the market average. Buy a house that maybe you have to fix it up, but that's okay. So hopefully this video isn't too long, but I wanted to shout you guys out. Shout out to you guys for watching. Love your comments. Tell me what video you want me to do next, and I'll holler. Yo, this is Will Motivation. Just wanted to say thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And also feel free to share this video with your friends and be a part of the movement. I'll check you guys out in the next video. Holla.